We have on the left-hand side, again, self-preservation, fear. These people are like, at this point, again, remember we said in level 3, they fear losing, right? We don't want to lose. I never want to go hungry again. I don't want to be taken advantage of again. Now we're at level 4. This person is full-blown malicious. Okay, these are your drug dealers, right? Full-blown malicious, manipulative, intentionally hurt people, right, to retain their power. These people are so afraid, they believe the only safe place is at the top. Am I making sense? Kind of like Hitler, right? They get to the top by stepping on other people. They create mass movements. They create massive followings, watch this, based on fear, and they create unity revolving around common hatred. Let me say it again. They create unity around common hatred. It's not really great things that they're doing. It's a common hatred, okay? Hitler and the Jews, right? When Hitler pinned the problem somewhere else, we're failing because of the Jews, and they all went after the Jews, right? So they used common hatred to create unity. They get to the top by stepping out of this. Our current, watch, even our current political system, our bipartisan, right? Republican, Democrat. Think about how they create unity by hating the other party. If I can get you to hate something about someone else, and that's what I focus all my energy on, is throwing rocks at my enemies all the time, I think we get really lopsided. I'm not saying like throwing rocks at enemies is never something you can do, but if that's all you do in order to gain followers, then you're really lopsided. That makes sense? I'm not saying that Jesus even threw rocks at his enemies, you might say, right? Whenever he talked about the Pharisees. I'm not saying that there's never a time to point things out. I'm saying we get lopsided sometimes, okay? And it ends up being hatred, and that can be an issue, okay? These people get things done. They're strong leaders. Hitler was a strong leader. He was a bad man, but he was a strong leader. Leadership means people follow you. That makes sense? Somehow he was able to get people to follow him, but they have real heart issues. These people have huge fallouts, and they crumble from the inside, okay? Because they have compromised so much, and they're filled with hatred and fear, that in the end, their own paranoia betrays them. Okay? Make sense? Their own paranoia betrays them. This is the reason why the Bible says those who live by the sword will die by the sword. They don't empower others because they don't want to be replaced. You see that? They have a hard time empowering others because they don't want to be replaced. It's kind of like Saddam Hussein. Anytime Saddam Hussein thought another leader was a threat to him, he'd have them all killed. When he first got into power, I don't remember how many people he killed. Tens of people. Lots and lots of people that were in the previous regime. He had them all killed and slaughtered right there in front of everybody. Because he was paranoid, afraid that they were going to take over his spot. Okay? To these people, when they delegate, it's more like dumping. Okay? Dumping responsibility. But on the other side, on the right-hand side, level 4. Okay? They will allow adversity. They will not. So when you're at level 4, you get to a high level of serving, okay? You're going to come against, adversity in your life, trials, tribulations, struggle, pain. These people do not allow adversity to discourage them. Do you see what I'm saying? Remember, the people on the left-hand side, they're trying to avoid pain. The people on the right side, they're willing to go through pain, okay? Failure is not an option. They don't care how many times they fail, they will just keep getting back up. They share their knowledge with others and make others powerful and equipped. They're generous for the right reasons. True love seeks others and not self. They give without expecting anything in return. And they don't wait for perfect conditions before they jump. They try. They take a risk. They realize it's always going to be risky. They always seek wise counsel. They will go outside to mentors because oftentimes these type of leaders, they don't have other people in their organization to lead them, so they have to go outside to get influence. Does that make sense? They have to go outside to get influence. They have mentors on the outside. They also go down. So these people, they've gotten to a certain point of initiative where they're leading other people, and they also are serving other people. That's the true heart of their leadership, is they want to serve other people. So what do? They go out to mentors, they go out to counsel, but they also go down. They come to the person that is their assistant and they say, hey, What's a way we can improve? Hey, what's a way that I can improve? Anybody here? I mean, if I talk to Matt all the time, trying to seek his counsel. I'm his boss, but I actually seek him for counsel. Hey, what's a way that we can do better? Do you see where problems are? I try to lead, but I'm also trying to learn too. Does that make sense? Because I believe if I'm truly serving, I'm looking to see what are your needs. What do you need from me? Make sense? How can I make it better for the students here, for the organization, people being served within our ministry, right? We seek wisdom from our peers and from our followers. Understand that there's no such thing as autonomy. What is autonomy? A lot of people think that when you go higher in leadership, that autonomy means you don't answer anybody. But there is no such thing as autonomy. The higher you go, the more people you have to answer. The more people who are depending on you. Does that make sense? Your children, your wife, your friends, your teammates, your organization. There's always someone to answer. Leaders serve their employees and their customers. They may not give the people a vote. Like I might talk to you about something, right? You might not have decision-making power, but at least I'm going to seek to understand the need so I can make a wise decision that better serves you. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah? I remember AT&T, they used to send out surveys. What's one thing you would change about the company? They'd say. What's one thing that you think we're doing great at? So they would do these surveys for the employees to see what we thought about the company. And that was important because they have thousands and thousands and thousands of people working for them. How are you going to learn what people are at the bottom doing, at the front lines, right? If you don't talk to them. So the surveys were very powerful. That's so we can learn about the atmosphere and the culture of the organization. Seek to understand lower levels because they value the lower level input. Make sense? It's not about stepping. These people are not about stepping on. They're about lifting others up. Like I know that if I get lifted up, then I can lift others up even higher. That's the main focus for my initiative. I want to do better. I want to help other people succeed. They will ask, did I give you everything you needed to be successful before they pass judgment on them? Did I equip you well enough? They always judge themselves before they judge the employee or the person on their team. Become a servant of all, always empowering others. That's a risk, because if I empower other people, then they might be able to compete with me. Does that make sense? If I empower you and equip you, you might be able to compete with me. So if I'm working a regular job, right, and I run a construction company, I train somebody how to do things, eventually they can compete with me. That's the danger that people think, right? But it's not. I think it was Walmart. Somebody said in Walmart, somebody asked the CEO or the assistant highest manager asked, not Walmart. What's the owner? Sam Walton. Thank you. I think his CEO or whatever, his XO, asked him one time, "What if we train them and they leave?" And Sam Walton said, "What if we don't train them and they stay?" Right? So there comes a point where we have to, if we want to have our teams go to a higher level, we have to be able to equip them and empower them, even if they leave. Delegation is empowering. Leader. This person on this level is a leader developer. They're always developing other leaders. And again, like I said earlier, there's no such thing as autonomy. Last thing I want to say is when stress comes, we flip-flop. We might be doing really well on one side, on the right-hand side and serving, right? And when we get stressed out, we come swap over here, right? So like, for instance, if you're level 2, okay, and you're on level 2, you see problems, you ask about the problem, you want wisdom, right? You don't know everything, but you're still learning. But let's say that level 2 person is serving a level 3 person, okay? Level 3 person is not good in relationships. They're not good at empowering people, right? So level 2 is submitted to a level 3 on the wrong side, right? That makes sense? So level 2 on the right side, he's seeking to learn, goes to a level 3 on the left side, who is not equipping, he doesn't have good relationship skills. He's they can get a lot done, but they're not able to equip other people. What happens is this person might get frustrated with this person and be tempted to swap over and become a level 2 on the left side and say, my boss doesn't care about me. My boss is thinking, and it might be true. But how do you protect yourself? You have to keep your heart right, because eventually this person won't be there anymore, the one on the left, the leadership level 3 on the left-hand side, selfish person, they're not going to last. They can't last. They might be there for a while, but they're going to eventually fail. And then the person who has the right heart attitude will take their spot, just naturally. Because people want, when leadership seeks to promote somebody, they don't just promote high performers. They promote high performers that are humble, that are servants of other people. Does that make sense? So I've told people before, oh, you don't like the way it's going? Just wait it out. Become a better servant. Help that other leader become better. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, powerful stuff. All right. I hope this all made sense. Take an initiative. Did this make sense?
Yes.
I hope so.
Yep.
I feel like it was information overload, possibly. But, so, what's the biggest takeaway? What are you learning?
That instead of taking initiative, if you see a problem, just do it. Like in there, like how it was all, you said it was all messy. We should have had it cleaned up before you said something.
Yeah.
We should take initiative.
And if you see a problem but you don't know how to do it, what could you do instead?
Come to you or Matt or someone that knows how to do it, or
Yeah, say, hey, I see this problem. How do you want me to do it? How do you suggest I do it? Especially if systems aren't, especially if a system has not been created yet. Because one of the hardest parts about building an organization is there's two things about building, this is a great thing, what you just said. There's two parts about building an organization. Okay? Systems and people. Okay? So when I'm, as a leader, I'm going to build a system, so that schedule is a system. What is a system? Tell me what it's, give me an example of a system.
something that you do every day. A system like getting up at 5:30. You know.
A system is something that we create and enforce. You can't just create it. You have to enforce it. Like if I create a system but don't enforce it, it's meaningless.
Like that schedule.
Like the schedule. So a system is a default, right?
Yes.
It's a default, like, it's like when you play your video games and you pull it up and it says, would you like to restore to default settings? Yeah, right? So the default settings makes the game function properly, right? Like if you went to the defaults, it'll work. It'll work just fine, right? But then as we grow, we tweak those things and we do custom settings. So a system is like a setting for an organization. We created a setting. Here's a setting. You wake up at 5:30 every day. You do your quiet time at 6:15. You do your teaching at 8 o'clock. We work at 9. We do teaching at 12. We work at 1. We do a teaching at 5, right? So there's the system for the schedule. That's the default. If that thing got thrown away, that's what I would expect from everybody. Super, super simple. So we have a super simple system. Then we modified it slightly to accommodate other things. But if you look at it, it's pretty much like that. Wake up at 5:30, quiet time at 6:15, Bible study at 8, work at 9. See what I'm saying? We have the schedule system. Then we have cleanings and chores and stuff like that. There's a system. But a system is something that we can all go back to. So Matt's been trying to work on some of this stuff, right? So he creates a system. A while back, I created a system. It's not working. The reason why the system, people say, well, the system's not working. The system works fine if you enforce it. That's where we failed as leaderships, if we're not enforcing the system. You can create the system all day long. But if I'm not asking you about it, hey, did you do your checklist? Right? So when I was working at CC's Pizza, I had to create systems. And people were like, they would always complain. You complain about the previous worker who was here. The previous worker came and they didn't do nothing. They didn't clean up properly, right? They get mad and they're mad at me because I'm the boss. I'm the one, it falls on me. As in leadership, you always take responsibility as leadership, right? If things aren't going right, it's my fault. If things are going well, it's everybody else's fault. Because when you're a leader and you're leading a team, the leader has to take responsibility for all the bad stuff, but whenever it's done good, then you give credit to the team. Does that make sense? So, yeah, systems and defaults. So there's two things you have to work on is systems and people. So people who buy McDonald's, for instance, you ever heard of a franchise? What a franchise is? What's a franchise?
Is it like owned by one person or a couple people? Oh, I forget.
An example of a franchise would be McDonald's. An example of a franchise could be Taco Bell. But a franchise means that you're taking a brand like McDonald's, the big golden arches, right? The brand mixed with the systems, okay? And then you plug and play into your people, okay? So a business owner, one of the hardest things about building a business is building systems. We've been only open 6 years. We're still creating systems. Right, Matt? Still creating systems. One of the reasons why companies can't grow very fast is because they don't have good systems. They start to build systems. What do systems do? They're default settings that allow us to run smoothly, right? So for instance, one of our systems we have is we count inventory for banana bread on Mondays and go buy the product Monday so that Tuesday we can work without shopping, right? If we didn't do that, it would make it a huge pain for the people who are working in the shop because we didn't have this system, right? Well, another system we built was a spreadsheet that calculates all this stuff for you, and then it tells you exactly what to buy. Why is that important? Because a lot of people don't know how to do that kind of math. So the brains,
That's a lot of math.
the brains go in there and create a dummy-proof system. No, not saying people are dummies. But we call it dummy-proof, meaning even if you didn't know what to do at all, you could at least do this. Count and put it in. That's it. Count and write it down, right? If you can count it, write it down, send him a picture, somebody else who can work the computer can stick it in there, boom, you have everything done real fast, right? You don't have to do no math. So he created a system to make shopping for banana bread easier, right? So systems make things smoother. They're the default settings, okay? It's the training. Now, here's the thing. We have the systems and then we have the people. You might have all the systems in place, but have horrible people, right? But part of what makes people horrible is training. Okay, so did you know that I think it's over 70, I don't remember how it is, like 4 out of 5 businesses go out of business. I can't remember what it is. Here, let's just look it up. How many businesses fail in the first year? In the first 5 years. 18% fail within the first year. After 5 years, 50%. 50% of all businesses fail within 5 years. And 65% of all businesses fail within 10 years. That's a lot, okay? So here's the deal. One of the big reasons why they fail is such a high, look, 1 out of every 2. So if 2 people start a business, 1 of them will fail within 5 years. If 2 people start a business, one will fail. All right, that's a high turnover rate. Make sense? The reason why is because of systems. They don't have systems. I can't remember what it is. What is the success rate for McDonald's franchise? I can't remember. I think it's like in the 90s. Over 90% of franchise owners, okay, over 90% of franchisees who buy a McDonald's will succeed. They spend $2 million to buy the franchise. What that means is, and then when you do that, you have to go to school. There's actually a McDonald's University. Do you know this? So McDonald's, the corporation, created a McDonald's University. I can't remember how long McDonald's University, how long is McDonald's open? University. Time to complete education training ranges, what the heck? I think it's 3 months. 3 months. I might be wrong. 3 months. You go to training for 3 months. I might be wrong about that. I might have my numbers wrong. Either way, there's something called McDonald's Hamburger University. Okay? They go for training to learn how to run their company and to implement their systems that they purchased because they want you to copy and paste. Why? Because what they're doing already works. Don't screw it up. Don't mess it up. It's profitable. Just do what they say to do and you will succeed. Make sense? It's because they have systems. So the only thing that they have to worry about are the people. See what I'm saying? So the systems, which are the hardest thing to do, because they take the longest to build, because they'll take you years to build if you don't have any already preset. The people, they can start hiring people and firing people, training people, right? And just start developing people and get them all figured up into the system. Make sense? So the reason why they have such a high success rate is because they already have systems. Okay? I don't know why I'm telling you all this. Why did I tell you all this? Oh, because here at the barracks, we are creating systems every day. Okay? If the chores aren't being done, things aren't being cleaned properly, that's twofold. That's systems and people. Okay? And so if we want you to do well at something here, then we need to empower you with a system. So it takes a high level, Matt, it takes a high level of initiative to build systems, right? It's also a lot of extra work because you'll build a system and it won't work. Then what do you got to do? Rebuild the system. Rebuild a new system, right? So most of my systems that I've ever built, I implemented it and changed it 5 or 6 times before I got it to where it was smooth. Make sense? If it doesn't create smoothness, it's not a good system. Cool? So, what else? What else we learned about initiative?
Well, you took initiative yesterday when we got flip tires. I mean, with them flipping tires, I mean, you didn't have to be out there flipping tires with them.
Right. So what do you think caused that?
What caused it? Showing them that you could do it and he could do it too.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Why do you think I went that far with him? Because I don't do that with everybody. Why do you think I went that far with him?
Serving others.
I mean, all that's true, but I didn't feel bad for him. There was a, I mean, there is a measure of pity, or compassion, you might say. I'll tell you what I felt. I felt like he hadn't really had a real shot to be here. I didn't know why. I didn't understand it. Normally, I just let people go. They want to leave, bye. But I had a feeling. Okay. But I had a feeling that he really, I don't know. Something wasn't right. I felt like he really wanted to be here, but something was stopping him. Something was messing up here. You know what I mean? I didn't realize he was using drugs. That made a lot more sense, right? And I'm glad we didn't kick him out. I'm glad we didn't reject him either. Because what I'm realizing now, he needed more than what he was given. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. I think going the extra mile is kind of a big deal. Like, I mean, you never heard me complain about it. You know what I mean?
He was complaining the whole time.
He was complaining the entire time.
Did you leave again? No.
Yeah. So, he's sleeping.
Finally, all
Yeah.
night not talking, and it was a lesson.
What else did you get? Matt, what did you learn from this one? Yes. You should probably see yourself in multiple of them.
Yeah.
There's times where we want to avoid it.
But there's also improvements needed like every one. Some a little bit here or there, but
What's something that you think you need to work on? You're already a high performer, Matt. But what's some things that you...
well, it probably have to do with
Yeah.
But I don't do a good job of keeping after them. I tend to look at people. You're a grown man. You should learn to do it. I didn't taught you. Because it's like me talking to a kid, to my son.
Yeah.
And well, this has affected me with my son because I'm a bit more patient, and I'm trying to be, because I'll show him something, but he's 8 years old. Of course, he's not going to remember everything. He's going to mess up. So it's kind of helped me to be even. I'm pretty patient, but to be even more patient and understanding. I'm dealing with guys that are, well, like Matt.
Yeah.
Going through things their whole life that they've struggled with, even with their own parents, maybe, and they expect to be treated harshly. You know.
It's a balance because it's like I know that I have to talk to him more harsh than he's ever been talked to before, but I can't be so hard on him that he bails on me because I broke him. That makes sense?
He'll think, oh well, I screwed up again.
Right. Well, sort of. He kind of needs to hear that because he won't admit that he's done wrong.
Yeah.
You got to listen to the way you have to do a lot more listening
Yeah.
to figure out where they're truly at,
Mm-hmm.
and that way you can meet them where they're at and take them to another level. So, like for instance, I was going to make him flip tires for 30 minutes, and I realized he couldn't even do it for a minute without taking a break. So I told him, all right, you're going to need to do 10 minutes of flipping. And then people might have thought that was too easy on him when I said, okay, let's just do 5 minutes nonstop flipping. But what I was realizing was that even the 10 minutes, if I can get him to flip tires for 5 minutes nonstop, he'll have done more than he ever has in his entire freaking life. And so I had to learn in that moment. Well, he'd already flipped tires with me anyway for 5 minutes nonstop. So let's just do it again. You know, let's do it again. Push through. You know, and there were a lot of lessons there to be learned. I don't know if you watched all those clips, but 30 minutes went by. I was like, look, the original thing was 30 minutes. He was like, I've already been out here for over an hour. Like, no, you haven't. I said, in fact, it's been 30 minutes right now. If you just flipped your 10 minutes, like I said, we've been done already. It's kind of like your life. If you got it ready, 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't be here today. So there was a lot of lessons there. Push through the pain. Don't give up when it gets difficult. Like this is a lesson right now. If you can push through these 5 minutes, you can make it 9 months. Stuff like that. Dre, what'd you learn?
There's a difference between dumping and empowering others to do something. Like, just telling them to do it without training them is kind of wrong, you know what I'm saying? But empowering them to do it, like showing them how to do it and then training them properly how to do it, there's a whole lot of difference between that. I learned a level two has all the answers but can't teach. They do a lot of complaining, but they don't fix the problem.
Yeah. Point the finger at other people.
Yeah.
Well, if I was a leader, I wouldn't let this happen. But they're not actually solving the problem.
Yeah. Doesn't help.
Yeah, and also the mirror effect I was saying earlier, it goes both ways. If I'm a high performer, I expect other people to be a high performer. That's unrealistic. You know what I mean? If I don't want to do extra work and I just complain about all the work I have to do and why I think other people aren't carrying their weight or whatever, then I also, because I'm actually trying to skip out of work, I assume other people are also trying to skip out of work. And it's not necessarily true. I'm projecting on other people what I'm going through, the way I'm thinking. Does that make sense? So you said, I'm recording this on my phone because we ran out of space. Resourcefulness, I want to talk about this for a minute. Resourcefulness, a lot of times we think, well, we don't have the resources, so we don't have the thing. To become resourceful, everything's right here. Everything's right here. Like, when I first started the ministry, I didn't have anything. You know what I mean? Didn't have any donors. Didn't have a house. You know what I mean? Started making candy pecans in my own kitchen. my own, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, man. Becoming resourceful. Super resourceful. And the hungrier you are, sometimes the more resourceful you get. Right? When you see the money's going away and you're not going to get to eat, sometimes that makes you pretty resourceful. Okay? There's power in hunger. Resourceful, like you said, what was the thing you said? Matt, something I was going to... Not coming up with excuses, being resourceful. There's something else you said. It was really good. I wanted to add on to it.
Endeavor to persevere.
Yeah, the whole idea is failure is not an option. I don't know. Oh, responsible. So what happens is when we're not resourceful, then we don't take responsibility for what's going on. We want to point the finger somewhere else and blame something else for why something's not working, and that can be a very problem. I think Tony Robbins said responsible means response-able. So when you choose to take responsibility, you're saying that I am able to make a response. If you don't take responsibility, then you're saying I'm unable to respond. Okay? Make sense? And then, so when we take responsibility, what we're saying is, it's my fault. We're choosing to take the blame. Even if everyone else in the world would have looked at it and said, oh, that wasn't your fault. Well, if you allow yourself to go down that road where you take no responsibility for the real results, then you're also admitting that there is nothing you can do to succeed as well. Does that make sense? That if there is no way to succeed, I might as well close up shop. If there's always a reason why it can't be done, well, then why are we even doing it? See what I'm saying? So when failure is not an option, then you find the flaw. You look for the flaw. You embrace the flaw. Does that make sense? And you get excited about finding the flaw. Make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you hate finding the flaw, you won't succeed.
Is it something you have to train your brain to do?
Yes.
You just have to, like, I'm not going to fail today.
Where did I go wrong today? What could I have done better? And it's not even about sinning. We're not talking about sin here. We're talking about what did I do wrong or what could I have done better? Because maybe I could have just done something better. You know where it began with me? I'll tell you. Where it began with me about how to become better was when I was working at CC's Pizza and I watched the guy who was cooking. Because I thought I was moving fast. And I was like, I'm moving as fast as I can, man. Like, I'm sweating like a pig. And I look over this guy and he is flying. I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, he's making 5 pizzas for every one that I'm making. I'm like, how are you doing this? And what I learned was he never missed a beat. Like every second of his motion, he was grabbing something else. He was doing something else. Like it was like a beautiful ballet dance. I was like, how in the world are you doing this, sucker? Have you ever watched the guys on YouTube like fastest workers in the world? Yeah. They never waste one motion. Every motion that they make, they're doing something else, right? They're grabbing something else and moving it around while they're doing something else. It's just crazy. And I learned that if I was going to be resourceful, I had to be resourceful with every bit of time I had and every motion that I made. My dad would say, why are you bringing just one board? Why don't you grab 10 of them at the same time? Quit wasting a trip, right? Things like that, right? So when I cook breakfast in the morning, it's like I'm making my stuff, and as I'm going over there, I'm grabbing three things out of the fridge at the same time, right? As I'm cooking, I'm mixing up the eggs, right? I pour the eggs, I scoop them down, I put down the cup, and I grab the carton of eggs while my eggs are cooking and go put the eggs away. So by the time, and then I would keep doing that, right? I throw my throw the bacon in there, right? And I close up the bacon, put it in the fridge, come over there and mix my eggs, right? And then when I'm done, I put it in a bowl, put the cheese in there, and I mix it up, and I go put the cheese away. By the time I'm done making my egg mixture that morning, the entire kitchen's cleaned already. I never had to clean up when I was done. You see what I'm saying? So, there's things we can do in life that just it's called efficiency. To become resourcefulness is also about becoming efficient. What can I do to simply do more with what I have? Make sense? And when you're building systems, you're always updating your systems to become more and more efficient.